time and a salute. I'm your host, Chris Budajas, and joined virtually is Dre Abadie with VMware by Broadcom. Dre, how are you?
I'm great, Chris. Thanks for having me on.
I appreciate you dialing in. I know things are busy out there in Austin, so tell us a little bit about where you're from and what you do in the military.
So I originally hail from Louisiana. After high school, I had the privilege of joining the United States Military Academy. So kind of started my journey at West Point. Ironically, I got a degree in computer engineering, and that kind of set the foundation for me to be an Army signal officer. That's kind of the career path I took. Around mid-career, the Army gave me the opportunity to pursue a PhD in cybersecurity, and that kind of brought me into the cyber world. And then I was able to culminate my career here in Austin, Texas, as kind of a plank holder when we stood up Army Futures Command back in 2018. And I led their efforts for pretty much networks, cyber, and artificial intelligence at the headquarters. And so it was just a fantastic opportunity to bring all that I had done over a 25 plus year career as a signal officer, but really to start capturing the Army's pursuit of emerging technologies and the great efforts that Army Futures Command pursued to really help us modernize and transform the Army.
Yeah, and since you left service, how did that transition go? And do you visualize yourself working for VMware?
Yeah, so I got really lucky. Amazing leaders that supported my transition at Army Futures to the degree where I was able to participate in the SkillBridge program. That's how I had my first linkage with VMware. That program is amazing. So it was really a very long interview process, if you will, as you kind of intern for the company. But what I really loved about it was just the opportunity to work at one of the industry leaders for technology. And so as I wore the uniform to close out the career, I was pursuing emerging technologies for how they can best support warfighters. And then I was able to transition to the kind of company that delivers those solutions. And so I just incredibly fortunate that those two things came together. And probably just as fortunate that VMware saw the promise and potential to bring me on their team.
Yeah, it's amazing because I was talking to somebody offset, and a figure I've seen multiple times through my 4-block experience recently is 70% of veterans leaving uniform change their first job within 3 years of being out. So for you, it seems like good, placement. What you did in the military directly related, within reason to the business sector, what you're doing, and no doubt you found some value in what you're doing. So where's VMware now, and where are you guys going?
So VMware's in a great place right now. We were actually just acquired by Broadcom, which is a much larger company that specializes in semiconductors and infrastructure. But they brought VMware in to kind of round out their portfolio of offerings. And really what it just gives this complete consolidated package, if you will, for data centers and basically everything that you can imagine in terms of cloud. And so a lot of the technologies that everyone is pursuing, we are the industry leader for that. And so it's amazing that VMware was already a great company, and then to have a larger company like Broadcom that just brings this amazing heritage and lineage of innovation is really exciting, and really exciting to see now that all these additional investments are being poured into VMware, at least on an R&D side, to see where the innovation is going to take our products. And again, lucky to be here in these kind of moments to see how that happens, and kind of excited for the journey to see what we can deliver to warfighters in that space.
No, that's great. It sounds like obviously you enjoy what you're doing, and it's exciting to get up. I tell folks, like, as you take a look for your post-military career, when you wake up in the morning, what do you want to do? And it sounds like you kind of found that opportunity. What kind of advice do you have for service members that are looking to separate or retire in the future, based on your own personal journey or what you've observed?
Yeah, I think a couple of things really worked out for me. One of the first is just the ability to define success, right? And so probably mid-career for me in the military, I kind of learned to set my own metric for success. And it wasn't necessarily the Army's definition of success or the Army's quote unquote career plan, and started to chart my own path. And that's where opportunities like a PhD allowed me to differentiate myself. And then as I closed out that career, and you'll see this kind of stuff in a lot of social media forums, is starting to define your why. Where do you find, I don't want to say passion as much as interest. You got to have a genuine interest in something to keep that intellectual curiosity, to not only pursue it and continue to advance yourself, because the transition is really about continued development of yourself. But in all honesty, it's hard. And so if you don't have a genuine interest in what you're taking on, I can't imagine how much harder it'll be as you have those initial difficulties, maybe initial setbacks as you're making that adjustment. Because the biggest thing that I think people don't realize from a transition standpoint, in the military, we change jobs probably every 2-3 years.
Yep.
And we get pretty good at managing change. What I think we take for granted is there's a level of institutional trust as we make those various transitions. You go to a new organization and you don't always have to prove yourself because you're wearing a certain rank on your collar or you're coming in with a certain reputation and credibility that at least is assumed up front until you screw it up. Transition is almost completely different. You're coming in and from day one, you are in a position to prove yourself. At a minimum, just to go back and let the company know that the risk they took on you, or at least the confidence they put in hiring you, was worth it. And I think you shouldn't take anything for granted. I think one of the biggest risks for veterans isn't necessarily fear of the unknown when it comes to the transition. I think the bigger concern is those that come into it with a sense of entitlement and arrogance.
Yeah.
That's the part that I think is what sets some folks back, because they don't fully appreciate the challenge in front of them. And like I said, throughout the military, you've done a lot of change management, but I don't think you really understand how many of those things were stacked in your favor just because of the way that machine continues to roll as we progress in the military.
No, that's a great observation. I mean, the Army been around for 249 years, so institutions have been around for a while. VMware has not been around that long, so you're right. If we take it for granted that we're an easy fit, they're lucky to have me, and not humble, we'll quickly find ourselves pursuing another opportunity with another organization. So, hey, Dre, number one, thanks for coming on. Number two, thanks for your service to our nation, and really appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, one other thing, Chris, I'll offer, and again, VMware is just this amazing company, is when I did the SkillBridge internship, I was immediately embraced by a veteran community within that company, right? And so I would say for those transitioning, don't take for granted the existing veteran density, if you will, for whatever company you're looking at, and kind of poke and prod and investigate that, because that's where you'll find like-minded folks. That's where you'll find people who've already walked the path in front of you. And from my experience, they are so open, not just to help, but to have conversations to demystify some of the things you're going to take on. And so, I was lucky VMware was very strong on the veteran side, but I think there's a lot of companies that are getting better at that. And I would just offer transitioning members to go ahead and look for that, explore into it specifically to kind of find some of those like-minded individuals that can help them a little better.
Yeah, I foot stomped that too. My personal experience is I've taken a look at different companies that I was interested in and reached out to folks that are veterans who I did not know, and everybody has been very receptive and kind with their time to kind of say, hey, this is what we do, this is how we do it, kind of below the webpage level, this is what our organization's all about. And when appropriate, we're willing to move my resume and get in front of the right people for conversations. So, hey, again, Dre, thank you very much. We appreciate your service and what you're doing for your community out there and with VMware. Sounds very exciting. So, hey, folks, if you like what you heard, please share us, follow us, and connect with us on LinkedIn. Again, we'll see you at the next 5 Minute Salute.